Hi there. In my previous video on designing a e-commerce responsive website using Bootstrap 3, we have seen how to build a landing page of the website from scratch. If I were to redo this same website using Bootstrap 4 with some changes, how would the web page look? Let me remind you that Bootstrap 4 is still in alpha version, and it is not advisable to use it commercially till the final version is released, as the codes may change at any time, thereby changing the layout. As you can see, this is the original e-commerce website I had built from Bootstrap 3 with the navigation at the top, then a carousel, and followed by the 3-column layout and 4-column layout, and then on the feedback and contact us, followed by embedding a video, and then finally the footer. This is the original web page that was developed in Bootstrap 3. Now, if I have to develop this in Bootstrap 4, you can see this is how the website I am going to develop. This is the navigation bar with the drop down, and then this is the carousel. Like I have 3 images on the carousel. The images I have changed, and then this is the first I will have the 4-column layout, and then followed it by a 3-column layout, and then the feedback and contact us and embedding a video, and finally the footer. So this is the website now we are going to develop in Bootstrap 4. As you can see, any awesome website can now be created using Bootstrap 4, as it is using a Flexbox and Sass, which were not used in Bootstrap 3. So it gives a lot of flexibility in designing a website. Let's get into the project straight away. I am using Dreamweaver CC 2017 as text editor. You can use any text editor of your choice. First of all, open a folder in your desktop and give it a name. You can give any name, but I have given it a name eCommerce. Now, inside this folder, I have 3 folders: CSS, images, and JS. Now, the CSS and JS folders, these are downloadable from getbootstrap.com, and I have already explained it in my previous videos how to do that. So download it from Bootstrap 4 version, alpha version, and then CSS, copy those folders, CSS and JS here. In addition to that, I have also opened the images folder, and I have placed some images in the respective subfolders as they may be required, as we are going to use them. Like I have 3-column images. These are all JPEG images with the dimensions of 253 by 190 pixels. And then coming to 4-column, I have these images for 4-column with the dimensions of say 400 by 400. These are also JPEG images. And then we also have these 2 small images and comments, and these are the dimensions of 80 by 80 pixels JPEG images. And then last is the slider. This is for the carousel. I have 3 images for the carousel with the dimensions of 2560 by 871 pixels. So these are the images we are going to use, and they are already placed in the images folder. Now, once this folder is ready, then open Dreamweaver or any other text editor of your choice. Come to File, say New. Now here select HTML and say None. You are not going to use the Bootstrap option here because the Dreamweaver is still using version 3.3.7. So we will use the HTML and say Create. As you can see, Dreamweaver has created a black HTML file. Now this HTML file, we need to add some initial codes. So do that. Let's come to getbootstrap.com. You come into getbootstrap.com and come to the top here. The blue, it says, oh yeah, Bootstrap 4 is coming. So click on that. and then come to the documentation, and in the getting started, the initial stage, here are the certain basic codes. Now the CDN version code for bootstrap.css. This is one which is going to be added to the top. So copy this and come to the viewer and include that code at the top here, and then come to the lower ones. Now this is the JavaScript codes. So these JavaScript codes, we copy all of them. You can use this copy also. We'll copy the clipboard and then come and paste it here. Now that these codes are pasted, the bootstrap.css, this CDN version, I am going to replace it with whatever the downloaded file we have, because I would need the bootstrap.css to explain some of the classes. So for that, if I use the CSS folder, and inside the CSS folder, I have the file, the bootstrap.css. Now having done this, first let's give a title to this document. Let's call this, let's give it a title, say eCommerce website in Bootstrap 4. This is only a temporary title. So having done this, now let's come to File, say Save As, and come to the folder eCommerce, and inside this, save this as index. .html will be taken by Dreamweaver directly. So it says say save, and you can see that Dreamweaver has changed this file name to index.html. So having saved this file, index file, next let's come and save the site. So come to site, say new site, and here we say eCommerce, and then come and select the folder. Again come to the eCommerce folder, and then say select folder, and then say save. Now Dreamweaver will save this files and folders in the site eCommerce. Let me close this. Now having done that, now we can start construction of the page. To begin with, first of all, we need to construct the navigation bar. Like we have the name brand on the left side, and then the 4 navigation items on the right side with a blue background. Let's see how to develop this. So for that, let's come to Dreamweaver, and first let's define a class of container. Let's come and close this class of container, and inside this container, now we need to place the navigation bar. Now you have to first use the nav class. So for that, let's use the nav class. Could be, we have to use the first class of nav bar. This is the class on which the Bootstrap provides us the navigation bar, and then we have the nav bar toggleable. Nav bar toggleable, like you see at the bottom here, like toggleable, and this toggleable is for getting that small sandwich icon. Now only for viewports below 768, that is for XS and SM, we would need the sandwich icon, whereas for viewports above 768, we would like to have the full nav bar. So for that, if you give the nav bar toggleable cutoff to be MD, then say BG faded, and close it, and then close the nav. Now this is the main nav bar. Now inside this main nav bar, first of all, we need to give that sandwich icon button. So let's define that button class is equal to, let's say, nav bar toggler, nav bar toggler, toggler, and then type could be button, and then data toggle. We need to provide a data toggle option to that. Data toggle is collapse, and also a data target. We have to provide a data target. Where did the data come from? So here we need to give the ID. Of the ID we will give is say my navbar. This is the ID we provide to the target, my navbar, and where this will be defined, we'll come to that later. And then also say area controls, we say my navbar, and then area expanded would be false. These are for the screen readers. And aria label we will say toggle navigation. Okay, now close this and then close the button. Now inside the button, now we need to give that sandwich icon. So for that we need to define the span class. Let's define the span class would be navbar toggler icon. Navbar toggler dash icon. And then close the span. Let's come and save this now. Okay, this is the button. We have provided the button. Next we need to provide the name. Like we have the name here, brand. Let's come and provide that brand name. For that we need to give a link. Let's say a class. We will say navbar brand. That's the class we will provide, navbar brand. Like here you can see in the drop down. And then give it a href. Let's give it blank at the moment. And then give it a name of brand. And then close the anchor link. So this provides the brand name, and below that the brand name. Next we need to give the collapse option. That is the class due class of collapse and navbar collapse. There are two options for collapsing the items, collapse and navbar collapse. We need to also provide it an ID. Like if I provide this ID, this ID here would be what I have given here. My navbar, copy that and then come and paste it here. Okay, having given that, now this is the div class collapse navbar collapse. Suppose I come and close this here. Inside this div, now I have two options of defining the menu items. If you come to the getbootstrap.com, under the navigation, you see that there are two options. One is you provide the UL and LI as we were doing earlier, or we can also use the A class with the item of nav item nav link. By giving that class nav link, we can use that A class link directly without giving the UL or LI. But I will go with the UL and LI. So let's come and first define that UL. First, let me give you a class of navbar nav. And inside this class of navbar nav, now we need to define the list items like li. Now this li, I need to define the link. For that, let's first come to that. Say a class is now Bootstrap 4 provides the class of nav link for linking the anchor references. So in Bootstrap 4 you will find the class of nav-link. So here nav-link, say href is equal, let's keep it blank at the moment, and then give it the name of home, and then give it a span class for screen readers. It's a span class is for SR only, because this is the active item. Close it and then say in bracket, so current, and then close the span, and of course close the anchor link. Now this li class, now let's provide it nav item. We need to give it a class of nav item, and first one we will call it active. The home will be always be active. So here you have two options, like here we use nav items and nav link, and whereas in the anchor reference it nav item, nav link together along with the anchor link. That is the difference between the two. So let's go on with the traditional one. Now that we have given the first li for home. Next, let's come to the drop down. Let's use a drop down of li, and this li will give it a class of nav item drop down. Inside this nav item drop down, this class, now we need to first give a anchor link reference. For that, let's say a class is equal to nav link, nav-link drop down toggle, with the h reference, href. Let's keep it blank at the moment, and then give the ID. Now we provided an ID here. Let's say my drop down. This is the ID we will give to the drop down, my drop down, and it also needs a data toggle. We need to provide a data toggle. We'll call it say drop down, and then aria has pop up. This is for the screen readers. Has pop up. We call it true, and then aria expanded. Okay, sorry, here it is. This some aria expanded, and here we say false. Okay, close this, and between this link and the closure of the anchor link, now we need to close the anchor link. Now here we give that description of the menu item, let us say products. Now this is a link for the drop down menu item products. Now under this main item of products, there will be other drop down items. So let's bring down the drop down item now. For that, first let's define inside this. Now let us define that class, div class of drop down menu, and also say aria labeled by. We use that, and we give that ID what we gave earlier, my drop down. Close it, and then below this, now let's give the drop down items. Now for that, let's give an anchor reference. A class is equal to drop down item. We say href, give it a blank at the moment, drop down item, give it an href blank, and then describe that anchor item. So the item we'll have here is indigenous products. This is the first menu item. coming to the second one, let me copy this, come and paste it for the second time. So instead of indigenous products, here I will say imported products, and for the third menu item, drop down item, here I will say classic products. Okay. So these are the three drop down items. Now having given these drop down items, let's close this div. This li, we need to bring it after that closure of the div, so that the entire drop down comes within the single li. The entire drop down is a single li. So having done that, now after this drop down li, we need to add two more li's. That is first li. First, let me give us a class of nav item, nav dash item, and inside this nav dash item, now we need to define that anchor reference. So a class is equal to, it will be nav link, nav dash link, and give a href of let's say blank, and here we will say about us and close that anchor reference. So this is the first li for about us. So if I copy this and come and paste it the second time, and here instead of about us, I will say contact us. Yeah, this will correct this. Having done that, if you come and save this and then refresh the browser, now here you see this is the navigation bar. Now this navigation bar has got a background which is light. So the BG faded, background faded, I can define a different color that I need. So for that, if I add the class, let's say navbar dash light. So this navbar light, now I need to define a different color. Now for doing that, we need to now define our own style sheet. To define our own style sheet, let's come to window, come to the CSS designer, and here click on that plus button. It gives the two options: create a new CSS file, attach an existing CSS file. Here you want to create a new CSS file. So we'll browse, and we want to place that CSS file inside the CSS folder and name that file something like style. The .css will be taken by Dreamweaver. So we say OK. Now what Dreamweaver has done is, just close this, it has attached that style.css to the HTML and also open the blank CSS file. Let's come and save this. Now in this blank CSS file, now we need to define the various aspects of changes, whatever we need as per our requirement to customize the web page. So first, if I would like to come and give the global command, like there is some global command we need to first give. First is to the HTML, like we need to have a common class for the HTML, so that across the different browsers, that the class will remain uniform. So for that, let us first define the height to be 100%. So across browsers, we want HTML to carry a height only of 100%. And for images, wherever there are IMG images defined, then we want the width of the images to be restricted to max width of 100% of the viewport. Since we have variety of viewports, then when you define the image max width to be 100% of the viewport, the image will stretch only 100% that of the viewport. So these are the two global commands. And after this, now let's come and define whatever our specific requirements are there. Like here, we have now given the class of navbar light. Okay, let me copy this navbar light. Come to the style sheet here, put a dot and paste that code. And here, I would like to define a background color to navbar light. Like the background, I would like to make it blue. So let's say 1275 FB. This will be the background color, blue. Let me save this now. And if I refresh, now here you see that the navigation bar carries the blue background color. But the contents inside, the text, is carrying black color. We want to change it to white. So to do that, the first item we need to tap is the collapse navbar collapse ULLI. Like we have the collapse navbar collapse here, collapse navbar collapse, this is the div. Inside this div, we have the ULLI and the anchor item of navlink. So these are the menu items that we have. So we need to target them like collapse navbar collapse ULLI anchor navlink. So if I come to the style sheet here and define that code, like say collapse navbar collapse and ULLI anchor, and we have navlink, the class of nav-link. Now this particular class, now I would like to define the color of the text to be white. If I save it and then refresh the browser, you can see that these menu items, the color of the menu items is changed to white, whereas the home, it has not changed. That is because home is coming under the active class. If you given the class of active for home, like here, nav item active. So for home, if you need to change, then we need to add that active class also to this. So for that, let's copy this entire code and paste it below. And here we say class active and anchor navlink. Now if I save this and refresh the browser, you find even for the home, the main item also, the color of the font is changed to white, but the hover color is not changing, whereas here it is black and it is still white. So for changing the hover color, so then I need to give that same class. If I repeat it here, navlink, here for the active navlink, now let's define the hover, and here I want the color to be black. If I select this class and define it to be black, and if I refresh it now, you can see now when I hover, so it is becoming black. So this is the drop down and these are the menu items. Now these menu items coming next to the brand name, it looks a little odd. I want to push these menu items to the right. Now to push these menu items to the right, if I come to the UL class, come to the source code here, and in the UL class, navbar nav, if I use the shortcut, if I say margin left, I would say auto. So this will push the items to the right, giving a margin to the left side. So if I refresh it now here we see the menu items have straight away moved to the right. Next, this brand name. This also I want the color to change. I don't want it to remain black. So for that, if I come to the source code here, navbar brand is coming under the navbar toggleable MD, navbar with the nav class. The entire nav class that I have, it is coming under this particular class with the navbar brand. So if I copy this class, then come to the style sheet here and then put a dot and paste that code and ensure that there are no gaps in between this. So put a dot and a backspace. Here also put a dot and a backspace, and here also put a dot and a backspace. Now here we have the item under A, anchor navbar brand. So here we say navbar faded, then A dot navbar brand. Now this entire class, here I would like to define the color of the text, as white. save it, and then if you refresh the browser, now here you see the name of that brand item has turned into white. Now let me also give a hover effect to this. Like I have the hover effect to the menu items. Let's also give a hover effect to the brand. So for that, let's use the entire code. Paste it here, and at the end here I would define hover, and the color I would want it to be, I want CCC. Save it and then refresh the browser. Now if you see, when you hover, you find that it is giving a slight shade effect. So that's how the menu items and the brand items is be done in the menu bar. So if you look at the original here, so we have there is a hover effect here with the yellow color, and also border to this brand name. So let's come and build that. Okay, for building that border around that name brand, so we'll use the class of a navbar brand. If you come to the style sheet here and define that class of a navbar brand, and inside this I would define the border, let's say 1 pixel solid. I put it to CCC, and then give it a padding. The padding will be say around 0.3 rem, and then giving it a border radius. So I want to give it a border radius of say 0.2 rem. I save this, and if I refresh the browser, now here you see this is the border around the brand name has appeared, but the border radius is not working. That's because there's some mistake here, so it needs to be a dot. Let's save it again and then refresh. You find that the border radius has come about. So this is how the brand name will look. And now let's come to the hover effect of these items. As you can see, the navigation items are under the class of nav-item. All these navigation items you can see are under the class of nav-item. So if you come to the style sheet here and define that class of nav-item and give it a dot here, these nav items, when they hover, you want to change their color. When it comes to hover, here we say background. The color we would like to give is yellow F9F461. Okay, if we look at this, this is the color, yellowish color. So let's come and save this now, and then if you refresh the browser, you can see that the hover effect is now coming over. Now the menu items are too close to each other because of the hover effect gives a box shade. So let's give some padding to these menu items. To do that, let's use that same class of nav-item, and this nav item we would like to give a padding of top and bottom, which is 0, and left and right you say 1 rem, or 16 pixels. If I save this now, you can see that the padding effect is taking place, and with the hover effect also is working. So this is the navigation bar. Now let's look at this navigation bar in the smaller viewports. Like if this is Firefox, I'm going to use the shortcut key Control Shift and M. It comes to 320 pixels. Now you can see that the border that we had given is stretching to the entire stretch. So in this smaller viewport, we don't want the border. So how do we do that? So for removing certain requirements in the specific viewports, then we need to build the media queries. Now the media query that we have, different media queries for different viewports. Let's come and define that. Like we have seen in the earlier video, that the first media query that is defined by Bootstrap 4 is at media with the min width of 576 pixels and max width of 767 pixels. Now this is the media query for SM, small viewports, 576 pixels to 767 pixels. For all the viewports below 576 pixels, that is the mobile phones, because it's mobile first, the media query may not be required separately, but if at all specifically required, we can always define it with the max width of 575 pixels. So this is the first media query at 767 pixels. Let's copy this, then come to the second one. This will be 768 pixels. This will be for the MD from 768 pixels to 991 pixels, because the next breakpoint will be 992 pixels. So let's come and paste this again, and here it will be 992 pixels to it will be 1199 pixels, 1199 pixels, and the last media query, this will be for min width of 1200 pixels, and there is no max width. So all the viewports above 1200 pixels will have this media query. So these are the 4 media queries we will be defining it. So first, now this border to the brand item, we need to remove it. So having defined the media queries, now the border we will need for viewports above 768 pixels, not below that. So what we need to do is this class that we have defined, a class navbar brand. Suppose you cut it out from here and paste it in the viewports above 768 pixels. If I paste it here and also paste it in the 1199 pixels and also in the 1200 pixels. In this case, what happens is only these viewports, this border will be visible. In the smaller viewports up to 767 pixels, that border will not be visible. Like if I save this now and refresh, now you find that the border has gone. Now we want the brand to come here and the toggler button to go to the right side. So look, this looks a little odd. So to push that toggler button to the right side, if you come to the source code here and the navbar toggler, what we have given, no, navbar button class navbar toggler, this button we need to push it to the right. So we need to add one more class to that, navbar toggler right. If you define that, then the navbar toggler, that sandwich icon, you will find push to the right. If you click on that, you find the drop downs coming forth, and these are the different color combinations. And if you click back, and this is how the navigation bar will look in 320 pixels. Now if you come to, let's say, Nexus, Google Nexus, 960 pixels, you find that border extending even in 960 pixels. Now this happens because we have given the navbar toggleable here at MD and below. Now because we have given a toggleable at cutoff as MD and below, and even at 960 pixels, that is between 768 pixels to 991 pixels, it is giving the sandwich icon button, but for this width, this looks odd, and this border also extending to that looks very odd. So what we can do is change this toggleable to SM and below. That is only for smaller viewports, so up to 767 pixels. If you do this, Then when you do this, we also have to change the CSS, because here we are given toggleable MD. This also, if you change it to SM, and here also we change it to SM, then only for smaller viewports you will have the sandwich icon. So if you save this and then now refresh, now you find that the menu items are visible here, and we have the brand name on the left side. So if you come below 768, then you find you have the sandwich icon, and when you cross 768, you find you are getting the menus. So this is how it should be. Now one more thing we can examine here is, instead of this sandwich icon for the smaller viewports, if I want to give it a text, say menu, and then what should I do? Let's come and see this. To bring that menu indicator, what we need to do is this span class of nav but toggler icon, what we have given. If you just delete this, and instead of that, if you type your menu and then save it, you find the menu icon appearing here, and if you click on that, you have the navigation items coming at the bottom. So this is how you can change the sandwich icon as well. So, but I will retain it as it is. Okay, let's save this, and if I refresh again, you find the icon appearing, and yeah, you know, up to this icon will be available up to 767 pixels. Now when it goes to crosses 768, now you find the navigation coming, and when it comes to 767, you find that you have the drop down navigation available. So this is how the navigation bar will work. Before we proceed further, there is a small spelling correction here, like this is ARIA controls, put an R there, although this doesn't affect the layout, but then all the same, let's do the correction here. Okay. Next, we move on to the carousel. The carousel, as you can see here, this is the carousel image, which has got the previous and next buttons, and then there are buttons at the bottom, and then the heading and the text. So all this we need to build up in the carousel part. And second thing we need to see is this carousel image is within the container. In fact, the whole of the website, what we have created is inside containers. So this carousel also we are going to place it inside container. So coming to Dreamweaver, first let's define that class of container, and come and close that container here. Now inside this container, now we need to first indicate the bottom buttons. These indicate the buttons. So we are going to make it in three stages. First we define these buttons, then we define the images, carousel images inside the carousel inner, and then last we define these two previous and next buttons. So coming to the first, the lower indicators. So here we need to push them under a div ID. This ID I would name it my carousel indicators, and provide it a class. The class I would give is carousel and slide. It requires two classes, carousel and slide, and data ride. Data ride will obviously be carousel. Now let's come and close this div. My carousel indicators. Inside this div of my carousel indicators, now we need to define the unordered list of OL. First, let's provide this OL a class of, let's say, carousel indicators, and inside this OL class of carousel indicator, now we go on providing the list items. Now for the list item, we need to give the data target. The data target will be the ID that what we have given here. my carousel indicators, copy this and first put a hash here, and then paste that code, my carousel indicators, and then give it a data slide 2. This means which the slide this particular button should indicate. So it starts with 0. The first slide that we're going to start is 0, and then we need to also give this li a class of active. So this first indicator we give it as active. Okay. Now that we have given the first indicator, let's copy this, Control C, and come and paste it, Control V, and the data slide 2, we give it to the second slide, that is 1, and then come and paste it for the third time, and the third slide will be 2. So since we have 3 slides, so it will be 0, 1 and 2. And once the indicators are provided, next we need to come and define the images. The images we are going to define under the class of carousel inner, the div class of carousel inner. And also we need to provide it a role. The role here will be, say, list box. Now inside this carousel inner, if you come to getbootstrap.com, Bootstrap 4, under documentation, if you come to components and carousel, then you see here at the bottom that the images are placed inside the div class of carousel item. So all these images, one by one, they are placed inside the carousel item. So we need to similarly come and place this under the div class of carousel item. So let's define that class of carousel-item. And the first div class of carousel item, we need also to give the class of active, because unless the div class is active, the carousel item is active, the carousel will not work. So only first div class carousel item should be active, and then place the image. Like let's get the image here. First let's give it a class of we want it to be first a displayed block, d-block is a display block. This is the flexbox command, and then we also want it to be img fluid. That means we want the image to stretch to the width of the different viewports, and then give it a source, src. Now we come and browse the image, and if you see under the images folder, under slider, we have these 3 images. So let's select that first image of pic 4, and then give it an all description. Description say red flowers. Once the image is described, now here you come and see that over the image we have the heading and also the text. So we need to build that. So do that. We need to first define the another class of carousel caption. So let's define that class of carousel-caption, and inside that carousel caption, first let's define that heading of H3, and here we define what is that description. Let's say first is red flowers, and then come below that, come and indicate some text. Like this would be watch the flowers. This is only indicative text. So now that we have given the caption, carousel caption, and also the carousel item. So this is the carousel item. This is the first carousel item. So let's copy that div class of carousel item, and then paste it the second time, and immediately remove this class active. Otherwise the carousel will not work. As I have said earlier, that only one item should be active, and the image we change it to pic 5, and the description here, let's say mixed flowers, and here also we make it mixed flowers. Right. Come and paste it again for the third item. Here also first we remove that class active, and then change this image to pic 6. The alt description could be say yellow flowers, and here also we make it to say yellow flowers. Okay, now this completes the images part. So this will be the class of Carousel inner. Let's close it. Okay, now that we have completed the class of Carousel inner, the next item for us to indicate is the left and right buttons, this previous and next buttons. So to indicate those buttons, let's first come and define that anchor class. Here we'll say Carousel control prev. This is for previous, and then give it a href. Now the href could be that ID that we have given here for my Carousel indicator, this ID. Copy this, come and paste it here, and then give it a role. Role will be a button. This will be a button, and then give it a data slide. Data slide would be prev for previous. Close it, and then next we define the span class for the screen readers. Span class would be say Carousel control prev dash icon, and then after that we say aria hidden would be say true. So this is for screen readers. Then come and close that span. And we also need to give another span class for the screen readers. Span class would be say SR only, and then close that span and say previous, and then close the span and close the anchor link. So this completes the Carousel control previous. So if I copy this Carousel control C, and then paste it, and wherever it is prev, let me replace it with next, next. Like this is prev, so we'll change it to next, and this also we change it to next, and the last one here also we change it to next. So this is the indicators of left to right. Now this completes the Carousel. So if I come and save this and refresh the browser, you can see the Carousel here, the image, and this is the previous button, this is the next button, and these are the three indicator buttons 0, 1 and 2. And then we have the heading and the text. So this is how the Carousel will look in the larger viewport. Now let's come to the smaller viewport. If we come to 320 pixels, now here we see that the heading and the text have moved up. So in the smaller viewport, we have two options. First one is to hide this text so that the text will not be visible. And if you want to retain the text, then the second alternative for you is to increase the height of this image. For doing that, if you come to the CSS here, and this is the smallest viewport of 320, that means up to 360. Up to 360, see, you can still see up to 360 the heading going up. So up to 360, so we need to select the smallest viewport. So here we need to define the media query for max width of 575 pixels. This is the smallest viewport of mobile phones. Now this viewport, if we say the class is Carousel item img for the image, here we would like to define the height. For the Carousel item image, the height we would like to refer to 8 rem. Now the image height, if I describe it to 8 rem, and then come and refresh the browser, now you can see that the the indicators are working, the headings are properly visible, and the image also is properly visible. This is how the image can be aligned in smaller viewports, like even up to say 575 pixels. So when it goes above 575 pixels, like 576, like here you find the carousel image, the heading, the buttons and everything is properly visible. So any higher width of images, you find that the carousel is properly aligned. So this is how the carousel will work in Bootstrap 4. So if you want a little gap between the navigation bar and the carousel, like in this image you will see there's a small gap. If you have to keep that gap, then if you come to the source code here and go to the navigation bar, and this navigation bar, if I define a shortcut class of margin bottom, if I say 1, then it will give 0.25 rem of margin at the bottom. You can see you have the small margin of 0.25 rem. So this completes the carousel. So next we move on to the providing the heading. The heading we need to place inside a container. So let's first come and define the class of container, and inside this container now we have option of defining the h1. So let's say first define the h1, the heading, and this heading I would like, let's say e-commerce website, and in addition to this capital letters, I would also want the text to be muted. Other part of the heading, I want the text to be muted, so I am going to define a span class of say text muted. This will mute the text next to this. So the text muted I will say in Bootstrap 4, and then come and close that span. So now if I come and save this and refresh the browser, you can see this is how the heading will appear. This is the simple h1. Like already explained in the earlier video, that the h1 global setting for h1 in Bootstrap 4 is 2.5 rem. The font size is 2.5 rem, about 40 pixels. There's another methodology of defining this h1, that is by defining the class of display, like display 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now while the h1 in the normal course would be a semi-bold item of 2.5 rem, 40 pixels, the font size of h1 in under display 1 class would be 6 rem, that's about 96 pixels. Now if I were to place this class, let's say h1, I would place it under say display 1. What would be the difference? If I come and save this now and refresh and then see what happens, you can see that the heading has become so bold. If I don't want it this bold, then I would make it say display 3, and also I would want the text to be aligned to the center. I will use that class of text center. Now if I refresh it again, now you can see this is how the heading will look. Now if it's still larger, then I can make it say display 4. This is the smallest that is available. So display 4 is 3.5 rem, that's about 56 pixels. Now if I save this now and then refresh, okay, this is how the heading will look when I use the display class. Now this heading is very close to the carousel, so I want to give some paddings to this. So one way of giving a padding is like I use the class of Jumbotron. So if I place this h1 inside the class of say Jumbotron, and close that div after that h1, and if I save this and now refresh, as you know that Jumbotron carries a light background color. Now it has got sufficient paddings, but if I don't want that background color in Jumbotron, so then what I can do is I can go to the style sheet and define that class of, say, Jumbotron, and give the background color. Let me say I want it white, or any other color that you need. I would like to place it as white. If I save this and then refresh, now we can see that a sufficient margin has come about in the heading and it is in the white background. So this is how the heading can be placed using Jumbotron. Next we come to the 4-column layout. Like these are the 4 images, and then heading, text and buttons. Let's come and see how to design this. So first let's place a container, class of container, and come and close this class container. Inside this container, now let's define that class of row. This will be closure of row. Now inside this class of row, now I would like to define the columns. So since I have 4 images to be placed, 4 columns, then my column width will have to be class call, let's say MD3, which means that MD and above, 768 pixels and above, it will have 4 columns, whereas below that it will have 1 column. That's how the definition goes. So if I say call MD3 and then come and close this call MD3, inside this column, now let me come and define the images. Like first I will divide the image, come to the browse, and coming to images, I have the 4-column layout. So here are the images. So I will select the first one, around 1, and give it a description of, say, round 1. Close it. Now you can see the image is seen here. It is inserted, the image. Now we have to give a class to this image, because otherwise it will go the full length and width. That's why let's provide a class of img fluid, so that it remains within the different viewports, width of the different viewports. This is the first image. Let me come and save this, and if I refresh the browser and see, okay, you can see the first image here. Now below this image, I need to put a heading. Like you can see here, I have a heading, I have text, and then a button. Coming to that heading, let's come to the Dreamweaver here, and after the image, let's place a heading for H4, and the heading, I would say, our specialty, and below that heading, let's give some text, but this text I would like to place inside a div, and give it a class of muted. So if I say div class of, say, text muted, and place it inside this class, inside a paragraph, and here I would give some lorem text. Okay, that is the text part of it. Then after the text, now we need to come and place the button. Like this is the after the text muted, let's come and place the button. So like the button type would be button, and then class, we say btn. Now we would have to give btn primary with a blue color, btn primary, and give the description, let's say view details, with 2 right arrows. So for that we give that code RAQUO colon, and then close the button. Now if I save this and refresh browser, now here you can see this is the image, and this is the heading, text, and the button. Now I want to place all this content to the center. So for that, the row itself, if I target and give it a class of say text center, then all the content inside this row will straight away be centered. So if I save it now and then refresh, so you can see this is the image, this is the heading, text and button. This is the first call 3. So similarly now let's copy this call 3 and paste it to the second time, and here we go on changing the details, like the image that I would like to place here is round 2, and this will be, the description will be round 2 and other things will be same. The heading I will say our expertise, okay, and then the text will remain the same and button also will remain the same. So if I come and save this now, refresh the browser, so you see this is the second call. Then coming to the third one, we come and paste it again, and here I will make it round 3, and here also it will be round 3, and this will be our team, and text will be the same. If I save this now and refresh, you can see this is the third column. Now again come and paste the fourth one. Now the fourth one I will give this round image, image 4, and this will be round 4, and the last heading will be our goal. Okay, save it again and refresh now. Here we are. So we have the 4 columns. As you can see, we have 4 columns here. Similarly, we have 4 columns here. Now one thing now we need to do is give some padding at the bottom. Now for giving padding at the bottom, let's come and define a class of after this container. For to give some padding at the bottom, then let me define a div, blank div of class say space. This will be a blank div, and come and define that style of class space. Here I would define the padding top. Now, since I am placing it below the items, give it padding to the top. Then it will say 2 rem, that's about 32 pixels. If I come and save this and refresh the browser, now you can see this is giving 2 rems of padding. If that is not enough, then I'll make it say 4 rem, save it and refresh again. Now, you can still give a little more padding of say 5 rem, so this will be about 80 pixels or so. Okay, this should be fine. So the padding what is available here should also be available at the bottom. So this is how the 4 column layout will be done, as we have seen in the original here. Only thing is I have aligned the text. So here also we can align the text, like if I come to the text and say align justify. If I justify the text, copy this, come and paste it in the other paragraph, and here also you come and paste it again, and here also you come and paste it again, and now save it. And you find that the text will be properly aligned. So these are the 4 column layout. Now if you come to the smaller viewports, see what difference it will make. Control Shift and M. If you come to 320, first of all, that heading that we gave is too large. To reduce the size of this H1 display 1, we have defined the class of display MD-4. This is the class we are given to H1. So if you come to the style sheet here and come to the lowest media query, that is max width 575, and here we define that class of say display-4, and this display-4, we redefine the font size now. Font size to be say 2 rem instead of the 3.5 rem which is defined in larger viewports. So let's save it, and if you come to the browser, you can see that the heading is now fitting in properly in the smaller viewports. This is up to 575 pixels, and if it goes beyond that, you find that the heading increases as we go on with the larger viewports. So this is how the heading will be aligned in the different viewports. And coming to the 4-column layout, if you come down, see that you have the image, you have the heading, you have the text and the button. So they all come one below the other. This is how they are being properly aligned. So this completes the 4-column layout. Next, we move on to the 3-column layout. Coming to the 3-column images, as you can see in the site here, that these are the 3 columns. We have image and heading, text, and these buttons inside each of these columns. And there is also a background image to this entire container. So let's come and see how to design this. For that, let's first come and insert the class of container, and come and close this class container. Inside this class of container, now let's define the class of row. Come and close that row. Inside the row, now we need to define the columns. Now since these are 3 columns, and this will be 3 columns only in larger viewports like 768 and above. Otherwise, for smaller viewports, these 3 images will not be able to align properly. So for that, we need to give it a cutoff as call of MD. So we define the class say call -MD-4. So this will ensure that only for MD and above, that is 768 pixels and above, those viewports only, it will run into 3 columns. Let's come and close this call MD-4. Okay. Now inside this call MD-4, now we will define the class of card. Now what is a card and how to define the card and all that, I have already covered it in my earlier video tutorial number 3. You can go through that. So I will just come and insert the class of card here. Come and close that class of card. Inside this class of card, well, you can see here we have the image first, then heading, text, and then buttons. So let's first come and insert the image, IMGSRC. So let's come and browse that image. Coming to the images, and we are in 3 columns now. Take the first image, pick 4. We have 3 images, pick 4, 5, and 6. So let's select the first one, pick 4, and give it an alt description of say image 4. And then also give it a class. This image we want to align it to the different viewports, so we will say img-fluid. Now having defined the image, next what we need to define is the heading, text, and buttons. So the heading, text, and buttons, they will come under the class of card block. So we need to define the class of the card-block. Come and close this div of card block. Now inside this card block, now first we will define the heading S3, and the heading that we give here is the Muri Kutti plants. This is the name of the plant, and then give some text inside the paragraph. So here I will define some sample text. This is like this is a medicinal plant I saw in the south. This plant will survive where there is good quality of soil and sufficient water. It requires special care for its growth. Let's say this is some tentative text that I have given, and below this text, now we will have to define the button. Let's say button type would be, say, button, and give it a class. Let's say btn. Now here you see that the button carries only an outline, and only when you hover it gives us color. So let's define this button. So for that we will say btn outline, and for the color, suppose I wanted blue, then I will say primary. So this will give me a blue outline, and then define what we need to say here. So if you say buy now, and then close the button. This is the first button. Since we have two buttons, then I will copy this, Control C, and then paste it with Control V, and change the color of the outline to green. Let us say success. And this one I will say view now. Okay, now that we have given the under card block the heading and the text and the button. So for the heading, let me give you a class of, call it card-title, and for the text, here also we will define a class of, say, card-text. And one thing we need is that this entire contents inside the card, we want it to be aligned to the center. So for the card, I will give a class of, let's say, text center. So it will center the image and the contents. And the text here you find is muted. So I would like to get that text muted. For that, I need to target the container. So all the text inside the container, if I give the class text-muted. Now if I come and save this and refresh the browser, here you can see this is the first card. It has got image, it has got a heading, text and buttons. So let's define the other two cards. Let's copy that entire div, MD4. Copy it and then come and paste it for the second time. And here we change the image to pick 5, and the image description give it as 5, and then the title. Here we'll say Vidari plants. Other things will remain the same. Then come for the third time and place a third card. And here we will make it pick 6, and here we'll say image 6, and the description of the image we will say Chaturkalli plants. Chaturkalli plants. Okay, now that we have given all the three cards, let's come and save this and refresh the browser. You can see these are the three columns you can see with the image, heading, text and buttons. Now first let's come and define the background image. We need to give a background image to this. So for giving a background image, let me target the container because I want to give it to the container itself. So let's define a class or something called image-box, and come to the style sheet here and define that class of image-box. And inside this image-box, now I would like to define the background image. So I say background URL, and then come and browse the image. Now for the background, I would like to go to images, and I have this image path, which is a JPEG file of 1920 by 1440. So let's select this image path and say OK, and then come and say no repeat. We want the image to be seen only once. Now that we have described it, let's come and save it and refresh the browser. Now you can see that the image has come in the background. But in the original we have seen that there is margin and paddings placed around here. So we need to define those margins and paddings now. First of all, let's give a space at the bottom. For that, we need to define that class. Space. New class space. Just copy this and come and paste it after the container, so that there is padding available at the bottom. Save it, and if I refresh now, you can see we have sufficient padding at the bottom. So let's now go on giving paddings to the card. Now for giving padding to the card, let us first come and define that class of card. So come and define the class of say card, and here I will say we want a padding 0.75 rem all around, and then we will also give a margin to the left, so that there is a gap between the 3 columns, which say 1 rem. Then say margin to the top, so that the cards come in alignment. So we will say 1.5 rem, and then define a margin to the bottom. Here we say 2 rem. Now let's come and see how this card will look. If I refresh it now, you can see it has got the paddings, it has got the gaps in between. Next, if you have to increase the paddings around the images, because the padding is too small here, so for the image, if you have to give it more padding, then let's come and define that class card and img, the image inside the card. Let's target that, and here I would define it padding of say 0.5 rem all across. Let's save it now and refresh again. Now we have the cards properly available. Now if you want the top margin to be slightly higher, then the margin top, instead of 1.5 rem, if I make it to 2 rem, save it and refresh again, this should be fine. Now you have all the 3 images with image, heading, text and buttons. Now the text, if you have to make it smaller, then we have already given the class here for the text, that is card-text. So let's come and target that class of card-text. And this one, if we say font size, we want it to be say around 90% of the original size of the font. So if I save it now, you find the font slightly reduced. Now you can see this is the font size, it has come down. So these are the 3 cards and the 3 images layout. This is original, and this is what we have just defined. Now let us come and see how these 3 cards will look in the smaller viewports. So if I come to Ctrl+Shift and M, coming to 320 pixels, you can see that this is the first card, the second card, and for the third card, you find the image is not able to move down because it is stretching to the maximum height. The image will not be able to go beyond this height. So for a smaller viewport, it is advisable not to give that background image. So to do that, what we need to do is this image box, the background image what we have given. This is the global command for all the viewports. Now if I cut it out from here and then insert it only in those viewports where it would be seen, like 768 and above. Like this is the MD, this will be LG, and this will be XL. Now in these 3 viewports only I want it to be the background image to be visible. For the smaller viewports we don't want it. Now if I come and refresh it now here you will see that the background is gone. Background image is gone, and these 3 columns perfectly aligning in the smaller viewports, like up to 767. Now when it crosses 768, you will find that it is going to 3 columns. below that 768, that is below MD, you find it is running into single column. So this is how the images will be aligned, and this is how the 3 columns will be aligned in the viewports. So this completes the 3 column layout. So next we move on to the what they say, that's the feedback and also the contact us form. Let's come to that. First, coming to the feedback column, you can see we have a heading here, what they say, and then the image and the small heading and text. Similarly here also we have an image, heading and text, and then another image, heading and text is nested inside this div. So let's see how this can be worked out. First let's take that feedback part. So for that let's come and define the class of container and close that class of container. Inside this class of container, now let's define the class of row. Close that row. Then next, inside this class row, now we need to define 2 columns. Now these 2 columns in the larger viewport, there will be 2 columns, but when it comes to smaller viewport, less than 767 pixels, I think it's better to keep them in single column instead of 2 columns, otherwise they will be too cramped. So for that we need to target the class of call MD. So let's come and define that. Just say call MD, we want 2 columns, so it will be MD6. So let's come and close that, call MD6. Now inside this call of MD6, first we need to give the heading, what they say. Let's give it heading H3, and here we say what they say, question mark, and then a few dots. Now this heading H3, let's give it a class. Let's define it a class. Let's call it say comment heading, and we'll come to defining that class later. So let's give it a comment heading class, and then after the heading, now we need to place the media. Like we have the media, we have another heading, and we have the text. So this is what we need to now place. So coming to that, first let's define the class of media. Come and close this class of media. So inside this class of media, first let's insert the image. Like if I come to imgsrc and then browse, and coming to the comments folder, we have 2 images here, pic 8 and pic 9. These are JPEG images of 80 by 80. So let's select the first one, the pic 8, and give it an old description. Let's say ABC says, and then give the class. Now this image we need to define a class. Now the class we need to define the flexbox class here. So first we say display flex, d-flex, and then also we need to give an align command. This I have already explained in the earlier tutorials, like align self start. We want this image to align to the start, the beginning, and then close this. So this will insert the image. Now once the image is inserted, next we need to give the media body. So let's give the class, define the class of say media body, and close that, media body. And inside this media body now, let's first give the heading. Like this heading, what it says, ABC says. Let's define that heading. So for that let's give a div class of say media heading. If I say media dash heading, if I define this div, and inside this div class of media heading, if I say ABC says and give 2 dots, So this will be the heading there, and below that give class of media heading. Now we will give the text inside a paragraph. Now the text, let's define here, is if I say lorem and let's remove this extra text. Okay, now that the text is defined, let's come and save this now and see how this will look. Here we see we have the heading, then we have the image, text, the heading and the text. So we need some alignment to be done here. So for doing the alignments, we need to now define the classes. The first the class that we have given is comment heading. So let's come to this. Let's copy this comment heading. Come to the style sheet and put a dot here and paste that code, comment heading, and then inside the curly bracket. Now here I would like to define the padding. I want to give padding of say 1 rem to the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. If I save this and then see where the heading will have the enough padding. Okay, now that 1 rem padding has come about in this heading. Now for aligning this image, the heading and the text, coming to the HTML, now here we need to define certain shortcut classes, like the image, what we have. One thing is spelling correction, align self start. Now in the align self start, this image, we can give a shortcut of say margin to the right 3. That means it's about 1 rem. 3 is 1 rem. I have already explained in my previous video. So if I save this now and then see, the text should move from the image. You can see that it has moved. The image also I would like to bring it slightly down. So for that let me give another shortcut class. Top empty, you say 2. That will be 0.75 rem. And if I save this now and refresh, now you can see the image has come down to that extent. Now we have the image, the heading and the text. And the heading and the text looks almost identical. So we need to reduce the size of the text. So for reducing the size of the text, we will have to come to the class of the new class of media body, and inside that we have the paragraph P. So coming to the style sheet here, if I identify the media body, the main class, under that the paragraph item, and this one I would like the font size to, let's say, 90% of the normal size. And then if you save this and then refresh and see what will be the font size. Now you can see the font size has come down, but since the text is less and it is stretching to 6 columns, the full width, that's why you find there's a large gap between here. So the font size, we will make it say 95%. Save it and refresh again. Here we are. This should be okay. This appears to be fine. So we have the first image, heading and the text. Now if the heading, the font size, if your weight is you want to increase, then we need to target that. We come to that class of say media heading. So it's say media dash heading, and if I say font weight, say 500. If I save it now and refresh, you can say that font size weight is slightly increased. If you still want it higher, let's make it say 600. Save it and refresh again. It should be okay. This looks to be heading and then the text. So this completes the first image. So coming to the second image, let's come and use that class media. We will insert the second media here inside the div class column MD6. So if I come and paste it again, and the picture here, if I make it pick 9, and then here we say xyz says, these are all just nomenclatures. If I say xyz says, and this also will have the same same configuration, but here we change the description to xyz says. Come and save this now, and if you refresh, you find we have the two images and the columns properly aligned. Now the third one is getting nested inside the second one. Okay, coming to the nesting of the image, as you can see, this image is moved inside the second column. So to do that, we need to nest another media inside this media. So let's define the class of media again here inside the earlier media, and inside this now the image, we'll put it under the column, one column, and the other content will go in the next column. So for that, for the image, let's first define a class of call MD3. Call MD3. That means this will take 3 columns in medium device, and I can also define for smaller viewports, like you can say call SM2. And if this is the class, if I define for the small image that I need to place, and inside this now I'll place the image. Now if I copy that class here, image, come and paste it. The image I would like to place here is say pick 8, and the alt description here would be, this is only a reply, so we'll say reply. Close that class. Yeah, this is the closure of the class call SM2. So this will place the image inside this column of SM2 and MD3. Now after this image which is placed, now we need to come and define the media body. If I say media body, okay, inside this media body, now we will first have the class of media heading, and this heading we will say reply, and below that let's add the text, like the text lorem text. I'll use the same text for the example sake. Come and add it below here. Okay, now that we have the nested image, let's save this now and then see what are the alignment we need to do. You can see now that the image is here, the heading and the text are perfectly in line. Let's first come and give that new class of space at the bottom here, space available. Come and save it and refresh now. Yeah, okay, we have some space available at the bottom. So this completes the left side 6 columns. Now let's come and see how this column feedback, what they say, appears in the smaller viewport. If you come to 320 pixels, the small viewport, we'll see that first 2 columns are properly aligned. It's the third column where the image is okay, but the heading and the text, it is flowing down and looks quite odd. To rectify that, let's come to the source code here. If you come down to the reply area, like where we have the media, and this media which is nested, this media, let's give it a class. Define it, let's say reply, and come to the style sheet, and for the smallest viewport, like 575. Here if I define that class of reply, and inside that I would say the margin left, I want to pull that media, the image, to the left side. I would say -6 rem. If I save this and then refresh the browser, you can see that the image is pulled to the left. Similarly, the text, the heading and the text also, let's pull it to the left. To do that, you come to the source code here, and the media body where the heading and the text is there, let's give it another class of, let's say, reply text. Let's define another class, and coming to the style sheet here, under the same small viewport, here we'll say reply dash text, and here we say we want the margin to the left. We'll pull that text, it's about -9 rem. If I save this now and then refresh the browser, you can see that the image and the text are now in alignment. Now this position will be there up to, if I go up to 768, like if I reach up to 768, you can see that it breaks into inside column. But if it comes anything less than 768, you will find that it is in a single file. It is coming like this. So the only in case of smaller viewports, like as we come down to 306, 360 and even 320, find that this alignment works. So this is how the first column of feedback, what they say, is designed. Next we go on to the next column of the contact us. Moving next to contact us, we have the heading contact us, and we have name, email, telephone, message and submit. So these are the columns that we need to incorporate. So this will have to place them in the next column MD6. Like we have already defined the first call of MD6 here. Like this is the first column MD6. So let's come and define the second div column of call MD6. Let's close this first. Call MD6. Inside the call MD6 first, let's define a heading H3, and this heading we will say contact us, and below that heading now we need to define the form. So here we define the form. You can say action will be hash, and then method is equal to post, and then role will be form, and close this form. And inside this form, next we need to give the class of form group. So let's define the form group to group the items. So here we come and say closure of form group. Okay. Inside the form group, now first we need to give the label and then the input. So first let's define the label. Let's say label for, say, full name. We want the name that is to be given, and say name, and close that label. After the label, let's give the input, like input type would be text, and class would be form control, and the ID will give it as say full name. So this is the first form group. So let's copy this now and paste it second time, and here is for label for. Here we say email, The description also we say email. Email say address. Input type you say email, and class form control, and ID will be email. This is the second form group. Then come and insert the third one. So here I will say label for, it will be say telephone, will be say tel. This label for telephone is tel. So we say telephone, and then the input type for telephone will again be tel, TL, and class form control, and ID again will be tel. This is the third form group. Next one we will have is the message. So for let's paste it again form group, and here we say label for message. We need to do some changes here. Message, and the description also we say message, and there is no input type. Message area is not input type, it is called text area. Text area, and here we say class of form control, and ID will be message. We can define some rows, like rows would be say 3, and close the text area. So this is the fourth input group, and after the text area we need to come and submit that button. So for submission button we will say button type would be say button, and the class would be say BTN. You can say BTN primary if you want a blue button, BTN primary, and if you want smaller one we say BTN-SM. So this will be a smaller button, and then say submit, and then close the button. So this is coming to the form. Now if I save this and see how it aligns, how the form aligns in the column, like it stretches to the entire 6 columns. This looks very odd. So to align it further, then we need to add a class to the column D6. Here we need to define a column. Like I would say, I would want this to stretch to 9 columns in MD, and offset by 3 columns. That means by 3 columns it will offset and occupy the next 9 columns. That would ensure that this would be moving to the right. And then for smaller viewports, I want it to be say call-SM12, the full 12 columns for the smaller viewports. And if I remove this div now and then come and place it after the form, and now if I come and save this and refresh the area, you can see now that the items are properly aligned. It has moved by 3 columns and the contactor form is properly aligned. Now you can find that this what they say and the contactors, they are not in perfect alignment. Let's bring them to align. For bringing this heading and the items down, let's come down to the HTML, and here the heading H3, what we have given, this one, we will give some shortcut class to this. We'll give it a class like I want the padding to the top, say by 4. That means it come by 1.5 rem. If I say PT4, that heading should be pushed down. Now there is no space below this. So then what we do is give also a padding to the bottom, like PB, if I say 2. Now if I refresh this and then see whether that heading properly gets aligned. Now you can see that the heading has come into alignment and the items are also coming into alignment. Before we proceed further, there is a small spelling correction here. It goes to rows. Put an S there and then save it. So this completes the 2 columns of feedback as well as contact us. Next, we go on to inserting the video. Now coming to embedding a video, like we have a heading here, watch video on CSS based navigation, and then a live video. So let's see how to embed the heading and a live video. For that, first let's define the class of container and close the container here. And inside that class container, first let's now place the heading. Let's put a H4 and here we say watch video on CSS based navigation, and after that heading H4, now here we need to give the embed class for the video. So let's define that div class of let's say embed responsive, embed dash responsive. This video will be responsive to the viewports, and then embed responsive 16:9, embed responsive dash, this is the viewport like 16:9. If I am using 16:9 viewport, and then give it a style, inline style of let's say border. I would love to give it a border of 1 pixel, solid, say CCC, and then close it. After that, here we need to now place the iframe for the video. Like let's define the iframe. Iframe class would be embed dash responsive dash item and give the source. And here you can define the source of the video. Now this video, so I am going to insert that source. I come and paste it here. This is the video, and then close the iframe. This is the path of the video, tvadobe.com embed, and this is the video type. To first come and close the div here. This is the div class embed responsive. Now having done that, let's save it, and then if I refresh the browser, you can see this is the video, and it is a live video. And to give some space at the bottom, let's first come and define that div class of space and save it, refresh again, and you find there is sufficient space available at the bottom. So this completes the video. The last item for us is the footer. Next, let's come to the footer. Now the footer, as you can see, has got 2 parts. The left side is the social icons, and the right side is the copyright text. So I'm going to keep the footer very simple, although the footer can be defined in different ways and different backgrounds. So I'm going to keep it simple, just not to extend the video timing. So coming to the reviewer here, let me first define the footer class. Coming to the footer here, I would define the footer class. I would say text muted, and come and close that class footer. Inside this footer class, I'm going to define the class of container, and inside the container I will define the row next. And here let me define the columns. The first 6 columns I would like to have the social icons, and next 6 columns will have the copyright text. So first let me define the columns. Say call SM-6. I want it SM and above to be 6 columns, not to the smallest viewport. And second is also call MD6, like call MD6 and above. And inside this call SM6 and call MD6, now I'll give the social icons. Like I have the 3 social icons here, so let me put them under the UL class. I'll say UL and give the UL a class and say list unstyled. And inside this UL class of list unstyled, now I can define the list item LIs. Now the LI I will give it a class. Give it a class, let's say list inline item. List dash inline dash item. These are the Bootstrap 4 classes. So let me define that, and then first one I will say Facebook. Then if I copy this LI and paste it second time, and instead of Facebook here I will say Twitter, and then coming to the third one, paste it here, and then this one I will say Google Plus. These are the 3 items that we have defined. The first 6 columns. Like if I have this these 6 columns here, this is call SM6. Now the other 6 columns, if I copy that same div, Control C, and then paste it here, and then close that div. The second div call MD6 and SM6. Here I would define the text inside the paragraph, the copyright text, and this I will say and copy colon, say copyright, and here you can specify the year of the copyright, whichever year it is there. So this completes the 2 columns. If I come and save this now and refresh, you can see that the 3 icons are starting from the left side, and the copyright is also starting from the left side, because by default these items will start on the left. So I need to give some classes to change the background color of the footer and also align these items. So for that, coming to the HTML here, so first of all I will give the row a class of say footer, and come to the style sheet and define the background other aspect. Let's come to the footer, and inside the curly bracket, first let me define a background. I would like to make it say blue color, let's say 1275 FB. Oh no, BF. I'll make it say BF. This is the background color, and then the text I want it to be white. Let's say FFF, and give it a padding to the footer. So the padding I would like to give say 2 rem. Now from top and bottom I said 2 rem, and left and right I would say 0. If I save it and now we come and refresh, you can see this is how the background color has come. Now only thing is this copyright item, I need to push it to the right. For pushing that copyright item to the right, coming to the source code here, let me define it a code. Let me define it a class. This call SM6 and MD6, let me give it a further class of say copyright, and then come to the style sheet here and define that class of copyright, and inside that copyright Now I would want the text align right. Save it, and if I refresh now, so we can see the text has gone right to the right. So we have the three social icons here, and the copyright text has gone to the right. So these social icons, I can give them a hover. So giving them a hover, let me come to the source code here and give that column at the top with the social icons a class of social. Define a class of social and come to the style sheet here, and again define that class of social, and then define the hover color. Like for social, you can see the items are under UL and LI. Under the div class of social icons are under UL and LI. So let me target that class social, UL and LI, and I wanted to give it a hover effect. So for the hover effect, let me define it a color. So the text of let's say EBBA0, EBBA10, yellowish color. Come and save this now, and if I refresh the browser, now when I hover, you can see that the color changes. So as required, further designing can be done. Yeah, this completes our entire page. I hope you like it. Thank you.